go out by myself and I look across the water, and I think of all the things that you're doing, and in my head I paint a picture. Since I come on home, my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over, stop making a fool out of me? Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, oh my Valerie. Valerie, did you have to go to jail? Put your house on up for sale? Did you get a good lawyer? Hope you didn't catch a tan. Hope you found the right man who'll fix it for you. Are you shopping anywhere? Change the color of your hair. Are you busy? Did you have to pay that fine? You was dodging all the time. Are you dizzy? Still dizzy? Oh, since I come on home, my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over, stop making a fool out of me? Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, oh my Valerie. Valerie.
Okay. Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, and this is another edition of Unger the Radar. And as always, we will be discussing all things film. And I want to welcome my guest today, who I'm going to interview. I have Mr. Angelo Mercado. Hello, actor. Welcome. Vincent Ruiz. Yes, okay. And Robert Vicente.
Yes, sir.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you today?
Good.
Good.
No worries,
Welcome.
sir.
Thanks for taking the time today. This is great.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So I know you guys are working on an upcoming film called Aghast. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'll let Vincent, our director,
Sure,
get us going.
it stems from an idea that I picked up from when I'm in my 20s. I was reading Dostoevsky, and there was a book called The Demons,
Mhm.
there's different translations, Possessed. And there's a scene where a man has lost most of the things that he wants in life. Well, actually, this is my translation from it. It's about a Russian intrigue, but the main character, there's a character who wants to commit suicide.
Okay.
And this seems to be a great vehicle for another character to take it as an opportunity to be able to kill somebody and have this person, who's a nihilist, sign off a note that says completely takes away the blame from him. So, and that's this whole idea, and it's one scene, but adapting that was the thing, to be able to make that in today. How would you get someone to be in the same situation where they would be willing to kill themselves for what reason? And that's the same idea, pretty much.
So like a kind of a deal with the devil type of thing.
And yeah, it's it's
Okay.
playing with
Only a little bit of that now.
yeah.
Okay.
Rob is my TP,
Oh, okay.
and we work together all the time. So we work together at work and on our own. So.
Nice. What number is it? Do you collaborate often? Is this like?
For the last 3 years, we've been working together. But
Oh, okay.
This is the first feature film that we've tackled together, and it's been a pretty beautiful process, just because started off as a short thing, 30 minutes, or that's the intention. Then all of a sudden we hooked up with these guys, the actors, and they just really expanded on these roles. So we got together and we were like, all right, so how do we make this bigger? How do we make this into a larger thing? And
they became our muses.
Yeah.
They really allowed us to expand on the story because of what they brought to their acting and the sensibilities they brought into it. allowed us to say, oh, this would be interesting if this happened. So it became a whole organic
Yeah, it was
process.
a total organic process. Yeah.
So, Angelo, were you like the first cast member to be brought on?
No. I think he already had two of the other leads already cast,
Okay.
and then he put out the submission online. I was looking for actors. I submitted. That's how I met Vincent. And my character is Leandro.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically am the moral compass of the entire group, where you have one guy who's, ready to kill himself, the other guy ready to murder one of the other ones because he's coveting his wife, and I'm kind of just like
In the middle there.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool. So how did the story come about? How did the film come to be?
It was a thing where I had a friend of mine who's going to write a script, and I was going to work with it over the summer. I took a month from work to start working on the film, and before it happened, my friend backed out. So originally I had done the same movie as a short about 6 years ago. And unfortunately, because of the technology at the time, the quality of the footage wasn't that great. So I never really released it. So it's the same idea, same script, but I then completely added more characters to it, expanded on it, and it became a bigger movie. But again, once we started shooting, then that's when we realized we can make this can be even more, there can be more backstories to it, and then the payoff will be better.
Okay. What are some of the filming locations? Is it in New York or
Mostly
outside?
in Nutley, New Jersey, which is
Oh,
where I live, and most of my house, my mom's house, big friends, restaurants,
Nice.
parks. So it's a really low budget, but
Well, from the way you described it sounds pretty big budget. Actually, it sounds really legitimate.
it's a big film. Again, it's because of the acting. If the acting wasn't there, it probably would have just remained. But it was originally intended to be a short film.
Okay. Now, as a DP, how did you tackle the film? Did you come at it with a certain visual sense?
I think pretty much. I mean, we collaborate a lot together, and we have very similar tastes, and so we had a very specific vision in mind in terms of how the camera is going to move, the lighting, how the locations are, and stuff like that. So it was pretty. I would say it's again organic, because we were kind of expanding the story as we went along shooting as well. So a lot of the locations kind of lend themselves to particular visual themes or style that we were kind of looking for. So it's not only is the acting well done, but I think it's going to be visually punchy and impactful as well.
Nice. So, Angelo, what was it like working with the other cast members?
Everybody on this set is so professional. Everybody's so talented. So it's been really easy working with each and every single person. I haven't really had the chance to work with Erin much because there are really no scenes with her and I together.
Okay.
But the other guys, we have like this huge poker scene where we're all just like hanging out like a bunch of guys, and it was really great. I got to know some of the people more. We've become Facebook friends.
Okay.
Like we text each other now. It's been a really great experience working with everybody.
Like, that's a question I often ask a lot of actors. Like, do you guys hang out when the cameras aren't rolling? Is it like very light on set?
Depends really, because these guys have met. Like we've been just kind of like having a group chat back and forth. But typically, for the most part, like once you're done working on a project, it's see you later.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. So, are there any filmmakers or actors that you want to work with in the near future that you haven't already?
Oh my God! Well, I like to work with filmmakers. Sure, it's a long list, but I couldn't tell you right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty much open to.
Yeah.
Sure.
How about you?
Any actors in particular?
Yeah.
I mean,
or the other DPs that you want to collaborate with?
Roger Deakins would be amazing.
Okay.
Not only a DP, but I'm also a director as well, which hopefully after this project we'll jump on the next project. But it's a long list of people. Benicio del Toro, I think, is an amazing actor that I'd like to work with one day.
Okay. How about you? Who would you want to work with? Who's your dream cast or?
Well, I really like Michael Fassbender. I think he's such a phenomenal actor.
He really is.
I would love to share like a set with him and just kind of get some insight like on his process.
Like a cop thriller, you would be like Partners or something. I could see that.
Yeah, him or Denzel, or I also watch a lot of like Bollywood movies, so I would love to work with Priyanka Chopra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Very good. So guys, I know you're working on Aghast right now. What have you done previously? What's your sort of your resume, your highlights?
I pretty much have been doing mostly music, doing a lot of jazz, opera, rock and roll, theater, doing a lot of multi-camera shoots. I love to go and see and be involved with the artist. That's one of the great things about music, especially in the jazz world. Most of these people are very approachable. You spend time with them and eventually becoming friends because they're down to earth. So I've done the last 12 or so years. I really went back to shooting because I originally started as in production and television, and then I went into editing and was there for many years. And at a point I realized I really have to go back to the field and be involved again, and that's why I ended up coming all the way around. Actually, one of the musicians that I've videotaped in the past, he's providing some of the soundtrack for the movie.
Okay.
He's a Emmy Award nominee for Best Land Jazz. His name is Robert Rodriguez, not the filmmaker.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's not because, but he's
right.
He's composed most of the music for the movie.
That's great. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to add also, one of the actors has brought in music. Actually, two actors have brought in music because they're both musicians. Shamil Malkandu, he's a Russian. 15 years ago, he was like a pop star in Russia, MTV pop star. And when I looked him up, I knew nothing about him. I cast him not knowing that. Suddenly, when I looked him up online, I saw he was like Lady Gaga of Russia. But he's a musician, and he composed a song for the movie, and as well as Eric Rosh, who's another of the actors. He played music, and he's willing to compose music. So it's been one of those things. Again, everyone has come around and brought things to the movie that totally unexpected.
Now, how important is music to you in a film?
Sound is the other half of the movie. Most people, sometimes when you watch anything on YouTube, you can see some great cinematography, but the audio kills it. And how do people not get that through the head that the audio is without it can kill a movie? You know,
that's true.
So yeah, the music obviously can. If you look at some of the great movies in history, they usually there's always that attachment to music. If you watch Citizen Kane, you think of Herman. I mean, you can go on and on of all the different Fellini, all the movies. There's always been some great music behind it, and it's part of the movie. And so I'm pretty privileged in this case to have people who are bringing music to it.
Nice. And what is your highlight reel? Like, what are you most proud of in your career?
Well, I've done a couple music videos. I've done some short films. It's actually the short film that I done a couple years ago, Baggage, which I've extended into a feature film. So I've been working on that script for a while, and hopefully that'll be the next project that we work on.
Can you talk about that now, or is it a little early?
No, we could talk about that.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
It's basically a crime thriller.
Okay.
It takes place in the underbelly of drug dealing and cartels of, the eastern. Takes place basically in our area, in New York, New Jersey area. And the other thing is that there's a lot of, I guess you can say Hollywood-esque kind of stuff that's going on. So I really wanted to keep it in terms of very particular cast, Hispanic American, black cast, stuff like that, and kind of tell a truthful kind of story. It's a little bit of a throwback to the cinema of the 70s, Taxi Driver, and
nice.
Carlito's Way is not a 70s movie, but in that kind of
vein. That vein, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Cool. So, what are some of your favorite movies? I must know, Angelo. Top 3.
Well, if you can't tell by my rose right here that I'm wearing, I love The Godfather.
Oh my! Well, yes, classic.
Like I love the mafia type of movies, like The Godfather, Carlito's Way, and pretty much anything like Pacino does.
Glenn Ross. Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Like a lot of the Pacino movies are fantastic. De Niro, I love De Niro. Maybe not his newer stuff.
You didn't like Bad Grandpa? No.
I did not like Bad Grandpa or The Intern.
Yeah, it's bad. How about you? Some Top 3?
Oh my God, Cinema Paradiso is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one of those movies I can watch again and again. And last night with my son, we were watching. He was watching for the first time Citizen Kane, which is one of the fantastic movies.
How old is he?
16.
Okay.
He turned 16.
That's about the age I saw it too. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
great.
and I have another son who's also going to film school, and he's all over the map with films. But you know, they actually both have gotten a lot of influence from me, good and bad, I guess, with film and music, and they're both very much into those two things.
That's great.
Yeah.
And a side note with the music, do you have any favorite film composers? I'm curious.
Morricone, I think, is the one who will always be. And lately, I like Santoriella, Motorcycle Diaries.
I think Hans Zimmer's pretty great.
Hans Zimmer's great.
Yeah.
Danny Elfman, of course.
Yeah, Thomas Newman. I mean, there's a lot of great people today.
That's great. Cool. So top 3?
top 3 films.
Yeah.
That's hard to say, but I mean, I think it more in terms of directors or filmmakers.
Okay.
You know, like I love Ridley Scott and Stanley Kubrick is one of my favorites. Hitchcock, David Fincher, I think is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And I just really love filmmakers that tell a story in a visual sense, that use the camera, like Samuel Fuller used to say, as a pen. You know, you use the camera as the pen, same way a writer would use the pen on paper. So that's kind of what I enjoy.
Yeah, and all the filmmakers you mentioned have this intensely strong visual style that cannot be imitated, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, aside from Aghast, what do you guys have coming up, Angelo?
I'm working on a play currently called A Cop Shot My Son, where I play the...
I wonder what happens now.
Well, apparently a cop shoots her son.
Yeah.
So I'm the defense attorney.
Cool.
We haven't picked a location yet. I just recently got the script, so I'm still kind of like working through it.
Okay.
But I have that coming up. Just yesterday I was working stunts as a stunt double for one of the main actors in a short film. And then I have another short film coming up that I'm going to be working on. I play the lead investigator.
Nice.
So I'll be FBI for that one.
Cool.
We start filming like towards the end of March.
Okay.
And then and then I have some stand-up comedy coming up. At
Really?
the Comedy Club.
Can you give us a little taste now? Preview?
If I give it to you now, then you won't want to come to the show.
Oh, touche. All right, we'll save that for another.
I've already seen it. Forget it.
Nice. What do you have coming up?
Working on this film, editing, post. I've been immersed in it for the last 2.5 months, and we have a couple of scenes that we have to shoot this coming month to finish the last, and then getting the music, the color correction. So hopefully within 2 months, 2 to 3 months, we'll be ready to go on the circuit.
Okay. Film festivals and stuff.
And then we can come back with the whole cast.
Yeah,
we'll have some stuff for you to show.
You'd be more than welcome, all of you guys. We just don't have enough chairs, but they can stand. It's fine. We'll make it work. What do you have coming up?
It's the same thing. We're diving into the next couple scenes that we need to shoot for this. I might have another project that I might have to fly out to Colombia for.
Okay, cool.
It's interesting. So, someone came up to me asking me to basically direct a short film that he wants to make into a feature film about Pablo Escobar. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but the next big thing, of course, is the Baggage feature, which is the first installment, which is it's one part of a longer thing. So which actually I'm hoping Angelo will play one of the roles and have some time to dedicate to this.
Yeah.
You kind of have to speak to my
agent,
my publicist first.
Yeah. We'll iron out the details.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I've heard people call my agent.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much. The film is Aghast, and it's going to be coming out later this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
By summer.
All right, Angelo Mercado, Mr. Vincent Ruiz, and Robert Vicente. Thank you so much for your time today. This has been amazing, and hope to have you again soon.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. So we'll be back in a moment with our film review segment, Everyone's a Critic, right after this. Cool.
Thank you.
we're back. Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, and this is Under the Radar. And this is our film review segment, Everyone's a Critic. And I want to welcome back again Miss Natalie Shmuel. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back. Yes.
Second time here.
Yeah. And second time for Mr. Zach Shevich.
No way,
Hello,
really?
sir.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We'll
Two-timers.
get T-shirts made up. It'll be
Yeah,
fun.
you should. Right?
3 Timers Club for when we're back.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
That's a robe. You get a robe on the third
Nice,
time.
nice.
That would be cool.
So how's everything going, guys?
Very well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time today.
Thank
It's
you
great.
for inviting us.
Yeah, anytime.
For
It's
trusting
great.
our opinion.
A second time.
Second time. That means I did good the first time.
Yeah, didn't screw up too badly.
Yeah. So we've got standard 3 movies to review today, 2 of which I enjoyed immensely. One of which is like so far off my radar, it's ridiculous.
I can already tell you which one.
Yeah.
We all
So,
know, right?
yeah.
Maybe we should get that one out of the way.
Save the best for last, right?
Yeah,
Sure thing.
that's true. All right, so that terrible train wreck of a movie is called Days of Power.
Sorry, guys.
And it's the
feel
plot.
bad being
I
me.
can't even describe the plot, so I'm just going to read it. On their USA tour, Swiss pop star Milo and the girl and her bandmates mysteriously disappear. As past and present merge, they find themselves racing against time, fighting for more than just their own lives when a concealed industry is revealed. That didn't really make sense to me, but
It makes sense.
No, it makes sense. But for the movie that it's describing,
Yeah, I mean, I honestly I fully respect their intentions for bringing up this issue of the puppy mills, and
Right.
you know, I'm so into that, and thank you guys for doing it. But if you're making a bad movie, it's not going to be very effective.
basically,
you know
it
what I
takes
mean?
place on a farm where they're holding dogs captive
Yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're being held
Don't know the
for
reason.
some reason. That's true. They really don't do anything with.
They just
sitting
keep
there.
them.
But why are the people being kept in the cages? Why don't they just kill them off? That's
Yeah,
like my first-
yeah.
It's like, why are they holding
There's a lot
them?
of nonsensical
Yeah.
like things for the sake of creating these tension, horrific moments. I mean, you were talking in your last segment to the filmmakers about how one of the things he brought up was that the easiest way to spot something that's not really well done is the sound, and I think that's really the case here. Just because like the movie was kind of well shot. I think some of the cinematography,
The editing was
good.
okay.
No,
It was serviceable.
Hold on, I'm gonna come back to the editing when he's done.
Yeah, I think the cinematographer has a lot of good stuff for his reel, but it's nonsensical, and the sound was just all over the place, going high and low, and you know you need to like listen closely, and then all of a sudden there's these loud
You need
noises.
some
Right. I did have to adjust my volume a little. Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
I wasn't a big fan of them. I mean, I really couldn't stand watching the pop bands. I couldn't. I really was. I honestly
You didn't like
skipped
the
the third time they were
Milo and the
performing.
girl?
I skipped it. I couldn't.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this random rapper comes in, or I don't know what that was. It was like, who is this guy? Random person, just in the middle of the whole thing. And he was
It's a
actually
very
sounded
schizophrenic
better.
movie.
He sounded better than the band, actually.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
The reason why I picked this movie is because I saw that Eric Roberts' name was attached, and he usually has interesting performances. But
Okay.
I think he does.
Like Eric Roberts?
Not good, but interesting.
But I mean, if you look at his IMDb, he's like in 50 movies a year or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. That's a guy who doesn't say no to things.
He's like in the
so.
camp of Nicolas Cage. Yeah.
To an extreme. I think.
Yeah. And he's in this movie for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
literally
so
1 minute, I think, was he plays like this like mafioso type shady character who is basically I guess he's behind the dog capturing. This movie and why Days of Power? I want to ask you.
I still don't understand
what is
why
with
they
this
named
title?
it. I don't even know why it's called
It's
Days
her
of
tour.
Power.
Yeah.
She's going on her Days of Power tour.
Oh, is that it?
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh, still
Oh.
doesn't really fit.
It doesn't really make
He
sense.
doesn't
No.
like it.
It's just words.
This is like one
Words
of
that
the
sound
worst.
interesting.
This is
And
one of
just
the worst
going back
movies
to
I've
the
ever seen in my
editing.
life.
Okay, you really like. What do you think of the editing? You like the editing?
I thought it was okay. It was stylish. It had
Oh.
like a Michael Bay feel to
It
it.
was overdone
Very-
with the cuts. There was so many. It felt like
Yeah,
a
there was
music
lots
video.
of there was lots of cutting back to show you the same thing
Right.
twice, and then sort of jump cutting forward. And
which is great for good style, but if you do it throughout the thing and there's no sense behind it.
I
If
think
it's a
it would
better
have been
story.
good in a good movie.
Yeah.
And it just annoyed me.
But then all the
here.
Right.
fast cutting too,
Yeah, it
without
really
the
annoyed
double
me here.
takes. I mean,
It's
there's a
terrible.
reason why music videos only last 5 minutes because you can't handle 2 hours of cutting like that.
Yeah.
It just,
No, I mean, I think
gave me a
there's
headache.
a lot of elements to this where it seemed desperate to be kind of like a David Fincher kind of
Yeah,
movie. You know,
yeah.
there's some shots where it's like it goes through the keyhole and stuff
Right.
like that.
oh yeah, there were some really good. You're right. The cinematography
Yeah.
shots were really good.
But it just
Yeah.
it doesn't have any underlying
point.
substance
Right.
or meaning or interesting
Yeah.
message.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
wasn't
Maybe
sure
messing
if the editor was doing it for style with the fast cutting, or was
Maybe.
he trying to cover a bad
He was trying to be cute.
acting or bad. I don't know.
He's
I
trying to be
couldn't
cute.
tell
That's all it is. He's
what it
thinks
was.
he's-
I feel bad saying these things, but
No. You know what?
Well-
I'm glad we saw it because we'll never have to watch it again now.
I honestly would have stopped watching it after 5 minutes.
I'm
I
so
didn't have to
sorry.
review
I'm
it.
sorry.
I would have literally. I was like, should I really finish this? Maybe after 5 minutes, I don't need to.
For the sake of Under the Radar, yes.
It was just bad.
It was terrible. It was
very
definitely
terrible.
definitely off the radar. All right, so moving on.
It's definitely amateur hour.
We have to wash the taste out of our mouth now. Entanglement. So this was an interesting one.
Yep.
We've
That
got
is
it.
the best of the three.
We've got this suicidal young man. He has just been broken up with. He's a mess. He tries to kill himself by slitting his wrists in a bathtub, and he gets rescued. And as he's recovering, he tries to find meaning in his life, a point to everything, to his existence, by tracking down a girl who almost became his adopted sister. That was a mouthful.
Yeah.
But that's the premise, and
But
Thomas.
it's much better than what it sounds, even.
Yeah, that's true. Thomas Middleditch is the lead, and I think he knocked it out of the
He
park.
did pretty well.
He
At
was-
first, I was getting annoyed with his weird,
Quirky,
ways.
nervous
but you
energy.
really get used to it as
Yeah,
you keep
yeah.
watching it, and yeah, you end up really loving it. Actually,
Right. I think I've seen him in commercials, or I
Oh,
haven't seen.
really?
I know he's in Silicon Valley, but Zach,
Yeah.
what'd you?
I don't
yeah.
watch the.
I mean, he's on Silicon Valley. I've
Right.
seen him in a couple films, like Joshy. He was pretty good in. Playing kind of a similar character, to this one, a depressed, kind of anxious
That's
guy.
like I'm pretty sure that's how he is in real life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much range you can get out of Thomas Middleditch, but he's effective at that character.
Yeah,
and, I
definitely.
think he works for the most part in this movie. I kind of, you have to believe that he's kind of riding that line between sanity and breaking, and I think you can believe it through his
It
performance.
was very natural.
Yeah, it was great. I wanted to see more of him. And,
What did you think of Jess Wexler?
the girl Hannah. She was okay, quirky, kind of like a Kate Winslet in An Eternal Sunshine kind.
Yeah, she fit the type.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
she's
liked her
cute.
performance. I was
Also, the guys, no spoilers.
yeah.
I was gonna ask you.
Yeah,
You
I was
gonna
gotta
say-
be careful.
Yeah, I liked her performance a lot. I was, without getting into spoilers, I was not sure what I didn't think her character necessarily would add up to much, but I think the film did an interesting job of
Right.
tying it all together.
Yeah, she had a nice flow to it.
Yeah.
Really, up until that reveal, which is pretty awesome. I
And
must say.
I usually catch twists early, but
Yeah.
this one actually surprised me. So
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that makes a very successful film.
It was great.
And the music was so great. I mean, it matched so well. It was so pleasant. The music choices were really well done.
Yeah.
The filmmaking was great. Everything. You
It
know,
had a
the
nice-
director is really good because
Yeah.
you know he's giving you details of his life without having to tell us. You know, in different ways. Like every time you see the timeline on the wall, you see little details that you find out more about him without having to be told. You know, it's that was really good filmmaking for me.
Yeah.
I loved it.
No, the acting was
And the acting
spot
was-
on.
yeah, spot on, for
But no,
sure.
director Jason James. He was. I think he seemed like a sort of an amateur filmmaker.
Oh yeah, he did really well with this.
Yeah,
one.
I don't
This
think he's
is
done much, but
really great.
yeah, he really knocked it out of the park.
And
Did-
his
sorry.
Go ahead.
Did any of the moments that were kind of a little more broad and artsy take you out of it at all, or do you think
You mean like the pool?
like the pool, or
Yeah.
there's the moment that really took me out of it more than anything else was the deer.
Okay, I have something to say about all that.
Oh,
So-
the
the
animated
special
deer.
Effects. There was a lot of special effects in this.
That was
and-
Yeah,
questionable.
they're in like a park looking
Right.
at deer, and it's just it looks like Rudolph the Red-Nosed
Yeah.
Reindeer.
Yeah,
type
it
deer,
did not fit at
not
all.
real
Well,
deer.
it
It's like, is he
does-
schizophrenic? Or?
So at first I thought it was a filmmaking style, a technique. Like a lot of
Yeah.
French New Wave did a lot of breaking the fourth wall, which Tarantino was a really big fan
or
of.
Michel Gondry, it kind of felt like that.
Yeah, and you know, even when she does, right after you see the deer, she does that gunshot moment. You actually hear the gunshot. It's very French New Wave and Tarantino to me. And I loved it.
Okay.
So at first I thought it was a style choice, but then when we get to the revelation, it turns out it's actually little hints to show us that
Yeah,
hey, this
right.
guy's
Not all there.
not all there.
Well, we
And
know
it
that
just
from the
makes sense
get-go,
to me. And
but-
you know, Variety actually reviewed this film and they tore it. They didn't like the
Oh,
film,
really?
and one of the reasons they didn't like the film was because of the special effects. They thought it was, you know, pointless and all that. But I think it was a perfect.
I wouldn't say
choice.
perfect. I liked
loved
it. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
good.
I think it was an interesting way to tie it into the ending. I think maybe it would have been more effective as a little bit more of it because it kind of it was
was so
so
subtle.
sporadic that
Yeah.
I was almost confused.
Yeah.
Think like my thought wasn't like there's something wrong here. My thought was, do they not have the
But that's
budget
perfect.
to get deer?
But yeah, that's true. But that's perfect because it doesn't show us too much so
Right,
that we don't
right.
know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Did you notice when she did the snap the fingers, the background changes? Did you see that?
Yeah.
That was really. I
That's
love
cool.
the subtle. I love it.
Yeah,
It's
it was
cool.
odd but likable actually.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what this director would do, maybe on a bigger budget with a different project.
Yeah, I could see that.
And this looked like a big budget too. I mean, they did it really well.
No, I mean, I just think he's clearly got an eye, and maybe if he had twice this budget, we'd see something more in the
That's
style
true.
of Michel Gondry or a Wes Anderson kind of thing.
That's true.
Yeah, that'd be great too.
And what did you guys think of his friend? I think her name's Diana Bang.
Oh yeah.
The whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, she looks so familiar.
I
to
looked
me.
her. She
And
was
then
in
she's from the interview.
The interview with 2014. Yeah.
After watching this movie, I fell in love with her as an actress.
I don't like she makes me
Really?
uncomfortable.
She's so cool.
Yeah, I don't
I
like
like
her
her
at
in
all.
Diana Bang's bangerang, man.
She never smiles.
so
She's
cool.
just deadpan. It's
No,
just
I
it doesn't
love
work for
her.
me.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know.
And she did great in the interview. So like I know she has that comedic background to
Mm-hmm.
her. Like after seeing the second one, I actually got into her a lot more,
Okay.
just to see her range. What do you think of her?
I liked her in this. I haven't seen the interview. I thought she.
Oh
no.
my god.
That was the whole basis of the Sony hacking thing, right?
Was it?
Yeah. It was,
Oh, you should totally watch the interview.
Right?
That's a good movie.
Oh wait, maybe I'm mixing up the interview.
James-
and the internship. Yeah,
No.
That was terrible.
She's the
Yeah,
girl that
who's the
Seth
interview?
Rogen falls
Interview-
in love with. What's
Oh,
her
that's
name?
her.
Franco
Yeah,
and
she's
Rogen.
so funny.
Okay, now I like her a lot.
She's
Yeah.
right. See, the moment I found out, I was like, she's awesome.
I didn't like her.
Wow. First
Yeah.
time we disagreed on something.
I
That's
know
cool.
it's a monumental thing.
Yeah, it is.
So
I got your back on this one.
Thank you.
so Entanglement. I think this is a movie that'll get better with time. Like the more you see it,
It's so worth
the
watching.
more you'll notice certain things, certain nuances, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad
I
I
very
picked
much enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Zach,
It's coming out on theaters soon, right?
I think so.
Good
Yeah,
luck
yeah.
with that. That's That's really good.
Yeah, I think it's already out actually.
Oh.
But Zach, final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I wasn't in love with this one, but it's delightful, and I think if you're looking for something in this kind of quirky indie, self-reflexive tone, it's something that's a little bit about finding your happiness. It's a good example of that. It's a good film to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely one.
agree.
And if you're into Thomas Middleditch,
Yeah.
This is my first time seeing him. I don't watch Silicon Valley, so I didn't.
He's not as funny as he is in Silicon Valley,
Oh, yeah.
obviously, because there's a lot more drama going on here, but he's very good in this. Yeah.
I love the opening scene and the dark humor of him trying to commit suicide. Like, I know it's such a touchy subject, but the way they did it, it was just so interesting.
Kind of oddly, I brought up Joshi earlier, another
Yeah.
film that he's been in. He gives a very similar performance, but that one is about his wife committing suicide.
What?
So
Really?
it's sort of like flip
Wow.
side of this movie. It might be
That's
worth checking out if
He's
you
definitely
enjoyed this one.
typecast, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Wow.
Oh my. So okay, this is definitely it's like a fun hipstery dramedy with
Hipstery.
romance thrown in.
It's
Yeah.
hipstery.
it's
And I'm
hipster.
starting to like it less, maybe.
I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
So wait, you mentioned Jess Wexler. Have
Yeah.
you seen her in anything? Because
Yeah, well, I think she first rose to prominence in Teeth, that horror movie about.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's
No,
her.
was she? That was her?
That was her.
Steve has a reaction.
I was so traumatized. My
Not a
roommates
fan.
put that movie on one day, and I'm
Yeah.
like, why are you guys watching this?
But she
Oh
was
my
young
God.
then. She was still a teenager, I
I
think.
can't
wow.
remember what she looks like. It's so
But
traumatic.
since then, she's been in a few different things. I know she was in. If you remember that sort of two-part movie that Jessica Chastain and James McAvoy did, The Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby, she played Jessica Chastain's friend in that.
Oh, okay.
And she pops up in indie stuff.
Yeah,
Interesting.
she's like a quirky Sharon Stone. All right,
Yeah,
guys.
to fit that typical, the guy can't find meaning in his life. He finds some girl who just doesn't have any rules and just uses the world
Little
as a
manic
playground.
pixie
That-
dream girlish.
Yeah. But then it made sense
Yes.
after a while. I'm like, okay, I like this movie. It was good. Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving right along. We've got what do we got here? Five Doctors. Okay. Another quirky dramedy.
Yeah.
About a young man, a young actor / comedian who goes back to his hometown basically to see five doctors because he has suspicions that he has cancer or anything.
Yeah, he's a hypochondriac.
He's a
He's got a
hypochondriac.
variety of ailments.
Oh yeah, hot hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes to five doctors in one day, and along the way he encounters people from his past. most notably one of his friends from high school who basically chauffeurs him around town to see his doctors. This was a strange one, but like Entanglement, I really enjoyed it. I thought it had great acting, great premise, and
just hearing the plot makes me think of when I was first going into this movie, I was thinking of The Five People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom, that book. Have you read it? They
No, I haven't
adapted
read
it later, but it was a book that I read once, and it made me think of the same concepts. But then when watching it, it was completely different. It was interesting. I mean, like, at first I was kind of feeling bored because they were bringing us back to suburbia life where everyone's just so boring and bland, and everyone, all they talk about is their health problems, So I'm like sitting there, I'm like, I can't deal with this. But then it just made me think so much of like the raw reality that they really do remind you of the people you know in real life.
Yeah, I did get that feeling. Like
really
if you were to leave your hometown for a while and come back to it,
that's
pretty much
like.
how awkward it would feel to run into your family, your friends.
It's got some of those Garden State vibes, and not just because he's an actor coming home, but like in the whole way how he doesn't feel as comfortable as he did, and how his relationships with these people have changed because of time. So it's an interesting way to sort of like look back at how home changes and your relationship to that changes. I felt like it worked better in parts than as a whole. Okay. I really liked visiting the school, and there's the scene with Bobby Moynihan, who I find funny. Yes. There's things like that worked for me, but I found a lot of their bickering at each other kind of familiar, overly familiar.
Okay, especially the scene with the friend and his father. He looks like he belongs in the Rainbow Room, right? So silly.
His father was really cool.
Yeah, good actor, just genuine,
Yeah,
that's what I liked about this movie. The performances, they felt real.
Yes, they have a solid collection of actors in this.
I mean, Max Azule, who played Spencer, the main character.
Okay.
I think that would have been better for maybe like an Elijah Wood,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because he got the bulging eyes, skinny frame, it would have worked better.
The two main actors, they were also directors for this film, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Max Azule and Matt Porter, who played the friend Jay.
Yeah, he's like a little Seth Rogen.
Yeah, I got
like
that vibe.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Definitely got that. Yeah, they wrote and directed it.
And they both ended. That must have been an interesting experience. I would have loved to see them here being interviewed, just asking these questions. Like, that's interesting.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they did really well. They had a very interesting connection.
They did. I want to see more of them. Well, I want to see more of the friend. I like the friend a lot more.
Yeah, he's really. I think everyone liked him in the movie better. Yeah, the main character, he was just such an asshole for the most part.
Yeah, he's self-absorbed.
Very LA. I mean, he captured LA so well.
I guess you're not supposed to like him. He's a very unsympathetic character.
He's doing that effectively.
Yeah. So it worked for him.
And they emulated the whole, like living in the film industry feel, like where he's constantly like looking for the next project and just a little unstable, and that clash with everyone that's living in his old neighborhood who doesn't have that life. Right. It's the ones that have that stable job. It made me think of a lot of my own life. I'm sure everyone else did.
Injecting some personal.
Yeah, no, because that it's different. It's different worlds, and him coming back to that and trying to. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a quality film. I'm glad we watched it. Yeah. And this was at the last minute too, so I'm glad
it was supposed to be something else.
Swapped it in.
Yeah, we did. So you mentioned Bobby Moynihan. He's one of my favorite. He's not on SNL anymore, right?
Yeah, I think he just left this most recent season, or the last one. Yeah, but he's a very funny guy.
Yeah, switching gears, are you guys big SNL fans?
Oh yeah. Not current. Well, actually, it came back with a few actors.
Yeah.
Actors brought it back, but there was a huge patch. Maybe the last 10 years that it was just so bad, but I was a huge fan back when we were in high school. Every Saturday night I was watching.
I think the Kristen Wiig, Jason Sudeikis years, I was not a fan really.
Yeah.
But within the last 2-3 years with like Kenan Thompson, Moynihan.
Actually, Kenan Thompson is one of the reasons why I don't like SNL.
Really?
I grew up to him. I mean, Kenan.
Oh yeah, all that. Come on.
I grew up with that, but for some reason he just doesn't work. Every time he's on, I just don't like
Steve Harvey is great.
He might be good at certain impressions.
I like him as a talk show host on SNL.
Yeah,
he does a lot of good hosts. Like he did that show, that show within the show. What Up With That, which I kind of found hilarious.
I didn't see that one.
It's worth looking up. It's
so funny.
But yeah, he could be a little bit less effective in the straight sketches, I think.
Yeah, what's her name? The one that really got famous on SNL.
McKinnon. Katie McKinnon. Oh, she's great.
She's great.
Ghostbusters.
She's got that traditional physical comedy that SNL always has.
Her Hillary Clinton alone did
she's
skyrocketed
she's
into stardom with that one. That's awesome.
She's got a lot of actors. A lot of characters that she
She
played.
definitely feels like she's picked up a lot of the Kristen Wiig, like flexible, just really dynamic female performer vibes. Yeah.
No, there's definitely better cast right now. There's another one that she played, another actress in there that I really like. Even the talk show, the daily, what's it called?
Weekend Update.
The Weekend Update.
Yeah.
Those two are
Shay
great.
and Colin Jost.
Those two are perfect.
I'm not a fan of Jost. I don't know,
Really?
something about him.
Yeah,
They did well together.
I kind of find like Jost feels like a copy of Myers, who's a copy of Fallon. but I like Michael Shea a lot. I think he's
It's funny you mentioned that because I went to a Paley Center event a few months ago.
Yeah.
And Jost was the host for a panel where they were basically celebrating Seth Meyers. He's getting an award. So yeah, I guess they work in concert. They used to anyway.
They used to
Passing
work
of the
as
torch.
coworkers.
Yeah. That's cool.
Interesting.
So guys, what else are you looking forward to in theaters?
Everyone's talking about Black Panther.
Oh yeah, I
I've
haven't.
been wanting to watch it, but I don't think I'll be able to.
I mean,
have you guys jumped on that? Or?
I haven't seen it yet, but I definitely plan on it very soon.
I saw it
yeah?
on Friday.
You did?
You did? Yeah, everyone went straight.
Is
on
it
Friday
really?
night.
Is it worth? Like, is it worth the hype?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's without a doubt one of the best movies in the MCU. It depends on what you get from those movies. I'm not a huge Marvel fan, so I'm not gonna jump on your couch and talk about how great this movie is. But I did think it was really, really enjoyable.
Oh, cool.
It maybe has my favorite villain in all of the Marvel films, this iteration of Marvel films. Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger is really, really interesting. I think a really great villain is somebody who you can understand their motivations. You just disagree with their procedure about it.
Right.
And he's got that. Like, he's got a strong motivation for his pent up anger, but he just is going about it in a way that we would find horrific.
Kind of like Lex Luthor. Like he's brilliant, but he's putting this intelligence to bad use.
Like, if you just did it in the right direction,
positive direction. Yeah.
And not to mention, just also Michael B. Jordan. He is so charismatic and watchable on screen, and I thought he was great in this movie.
Nice.
Michael B. Jordan's good in a lot of stuff that I've seen him in. He's excellent.
I think the first thing I was like, wow about was it was Creed. It was the first performance.
Yeah, he was really good in Creed.
So good. And what was the Fruitvale Station?
Yeah, he's great in Fruitvale Station.
Quality film.
He did a bunch of TV too. He's I still remember him from The Wire. Where's Wallace?
The Wire.
Yeah.
I need to see the. Everyone tells me that's an amazing show.
Yeah.
The best.
Okay, you and I both.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't seen it either.
I'm
so-
big on Breaking Bad, and everyone's like, you gotta watch The Wire if you like Breaking Bad,
Yes.
because it will ruin every other show for you.
Is that J.K. Simmons in The Wire, or is that
No,
He's in
J.K.'s
Oz.
Oz? I
Oz,
mixed
yeah.
those two up. Okay. Cool. And that segues to my next question. What are you guys watching on TV, or your devices, your Fire Stick, your Chrome, whatever? Well, Natalie first.
But, I don't know, I have to think about this for a second.
All right.
For the past few
Zach,
weeks,
go.
I've
No.
been trying to find a new show to get stuck on.
Oh, you. There's a lot out there.
Yeah, is there?
Yeah. Have you seen? Well, Breaking Bad for one.
Well, Breaking Bad is old, right? I mean, that's a few years back.
That'll never get old.
It's
I never
timeless.
watched
It is
Breaking
timeless.
Bad.
It's timeless.
It is time.
No, I was afraid to get stuck on the I hate getting
You will.
addicted to shows. I can't stand it. I know once you watch an episode, you're not going to be able to stop.
Yeah, it's hard to
No.
not with Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I knew it. Everyone was obsessed and addicted, and I was like, I can't be part of that.
I've sort of binge watched Stranger Things, but
Everyone's talking about Stranger Things.
because I'm
Is
a
it
huge
really that
I'm a huge
good?
Spielberg nerd, so I had to.
Oh.
But I was not impressed actually.
Really?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
well
so I
acted,
don't have a reason to watch it.
good stories, but I
That's
don't know.
good. Okay.
Didn't see-
I find something like Stranger Things to be like horror for people who don't like horror. That's kind of like what I got out of it.
Okay. Supernatural thriller for
Yeah, it's got those,
those
it's
yeah.
like a step in that direction.
Yeah, because you know they're not really gonna kill kids, so it's kind of like, yeah.
That's true. But in the original cut of E.T., they had guns aimed at the kid. They were going to shoot.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, you saw that.
Yeah, I saw that back in the day. Yeah,
And then I think Spielberg edited it out with microphone,
walkie-talkies.
Walkie-talkies. Thank you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a big South Park joke.
Yeah.
I gotta see that. What are you watching or plan to watch?
I finished up recently The Good Place on NBC. It just finished its second season.
How is that?
It's really incredible. I don't know if you're a fan generally of Mike Schur's shows. He's done Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He was on The Office for a while.
Nice.
But it's got a really clever really clever premise.
Yes.
Hard to say those words to say. That they somehow just continue to find new ways to twist.
Okay.
The basic premise of the show being that this woman played by Kristen Bell, Eleanor Shellstrop, wakes up in the good place, like a version of heaven or whatever it is.
Kind of like what's the Albert Brooks movie?
Yeah.
Defending Your Life.
Exactly.
But it's not heaven. It's not hell. It's not earth. But it's kind of like a waiting room
Like a
for
limbo.
heaven.
Well, no.
Limbo.
But this is the good place. This is heaven.
Oh, it is heaven.
They just don't call it heaven. It's like a non-denominational kind of thing.
Oh, interesting.
So, and she's been accepted and is getting toured around, and then we find out she's not who they think she is. She doesn't deserve to be there. So she's trying to work with her soulmate, who's not actually her soulmate, to become a good enough person to stay in the good place.
Okay.
And the way they twist it from there is really, really incredible. It has the best season finale twist I've maybe ever seen in a comedy.
Okay, so this is season 2 now.
Yes.
Okay.
And it did another bold twist to the end of the season, so I'm eagerly awaiting
Now
season 3.
I've seen the posters in the subway. It looks a little corny.
I mean,
It's not.
it's broad, but a lot of comedy is, it's dense with jokes. But I think it's got some really interesting views on moral dilemmas. Do you know the trolley problem?
Trolley problem.
So the trolley problem is this
He's like,
Educate us.
old logical philosophy
Yes.
idea of is it if you're on a trolley that's headed towards 5
I think
people?
you said Charlie.
Trolley.
Trolley. Okay.
Trolley.
Trolley.
If you're on a
you said
trolley.
Charlie.
Oh, sorry, trolley.
It's okay.
Do you know the trolley problem?
Yeah.
So headed on the track,
Okay.
gonna kill 5 people, and you have the option to flip the switch, and it'll divert and hit 1 person.
Okay.
Should you flip the switch, knowing that you are actively killing somebody? So they do an entire episode of just enacting different versions of this trolley problem, because it's the afterlife, and they can kind of play with that, but it ends up being a really interesting dive into what are your morals, what is right and wrong, and I don't think there's a lot of comedies that are willing to even delve into those types of questions. So it's not only very funny, the place is full of puns. There, for example, there's a whole bunch of frozen yogurt restaurants, and each one has a different pun name. But it's just a really interesting, thoughtful show too. And it makes me happy too. It's one of the few comedies that actually is like,
What's the name again?
The Good Place.
The
The
Good
first
Place.
season's on Netflix.
There are episodes of The Office and definitely Parks and Rec that actually made me happy.
Yeah, exactly. It's got that vibe.
Because it's
got
very lighthearted and colorful.
and it believes in
characters.
people.
Yeah. Okay. And how's I know Ted Danson's in it.
Yes,
Oh,
he's
wow.
great.
Is he
He's
like
back?
God? Is
He's sort of like, he oversees the Good Place. He constructed the Good Place.
Wow.
So he's sort of the facilitator of everything there.
okay.
That
And,
is interesting.
Mike Schur, I know, is a huge Cheers fan and got to have Ted Danson's character behind a bar in the season 2 finale.
Nice.
So I
That's
know that was a big
cool.
moment for him.
That's cool.
It would be good if you're a
For a
Cheers
lot
fan.
of
it'll be-
fans, yeah.
The more you talk about this, the more excited I am about watching it.
Yeah,
really good.
you
The cast
sold
is
it.
great.
Nice.
It's
Who,
really
who,
fun.
who else?
So, not really people that you would know besides Kristen Bell and Ted Danson, but William Jackson Harper plays Chidi, her sort of love interest in the
Okay.
show. He's a great actor who shows up in a lot of stuff. He was in that Jim Jarmusch from Patterson. He was in an episode of High Maintenance. And I think he's an actor we're going to see a lot more of as time goes on.
Cool. So, what actors are you excited about seeing in the future, Natalie?
I'd like to see more Diana Bang, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Going back
She
to
has potential.
Oh
I would like
my.
to see her more often.
okay.
Actors,
Or
oh, you
actresses.
know, the most exciting thing, I heard that Tarantino's coming out with a movie and DiCaprio might be on it.
Oh,
so that's
nice. Well, they
I
worked
love
together on the
Django.
Django
Yeah,
and
I wasn't a big fan of Django. It's the only film I
Really?
didn't like by Tarantino.
Oh,
But
I loved it. Well, I think I don't know if I like Hateful Eight more.
Hateful Eight was beautiful. That
Yeah,
should be
yeah.
better. Yeah, but that should be better.
Yeah.
But but they announced that they're going to be making a film about the Charles Manson murders.
Oh,
I
heard
don't
about
know
that.
how.
That's Tarantino.
That's Tarantino.
That's
and,
gonna be
Yeah,
insane.
and supposedly DiCaprio is set to
He's
be
Charles
in
Manson.
it.
I could see that.
I wonder. Yeah, I think he could be.
Yeah.
He looks like he'd play the part very well.
Are you a big DiCaprio fan?
Yeah, I've always been when I grew
Yeah.
up to him. Yeah.
Even as a kid, he was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up to him as a kid. Yeah, he's one of my favorites. Him, Johnny Depp are like the top two living actors.
Well, for me, Johnny Depp kind of after
He's been dying out.
after
I don't know
Willy
what
Wonka,
happened.
he kind of went downhill for me.
Disney bought him and
They bought.
and that's it.
They own his soul.
That they took. Now he just
Ruining
always plays
6
that
Pirates
Jack
of the
character.
Caribbean.
He's
Oh,
always
God.
the Jack character, and it's driving me nuts.
Well,
But he was amazing.
You got that and the whole situation with his wife too. Like
Yeah,
that kind of
exactly.
killed it out for him.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
we don't really know what happened and what the true story is. It did look a little fishy from her part, the way she, I don't know, it just looked too familiar, really toxic women. But
Yeah,
other than
it's
that,
gossip. It's just
he's still, yeah, I'm not into the gossip so much, but he was a great actor for so many years.
He
and
was.
I would like to see him come back.
I hope he gets a
Not
good
under
script.
Disney. I think Disney sort of ruined it.
And I hope it's not with Tim Burton because for over the past 10 years, he has not done a good Tim Burton film.
Tim Burton. What was the last thing Tim Burton did?
Well, the last thing he did with Depp, I think, was Sweeney Todd.
Oh, sweet. That was a
They've
good one.
done Alice in Wonderland, I think,
no.
since then.
Oh yeah.
No,
Awesome.
Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
That was
Dark
horrendous.
Shadows. I
That
didn't
was-
see it. It wasn't good.
Don't
Oh my god.
waste your time.
Yeah.
No.
What's going on? Everyone's dying out.
I know.
They're
Why
still
doesn't
alive.
Why doesn't Burton do a sequel to Beetlejuice? I mean, that's what I'm
Interesting.
saying.
A lot of people have been talking about that for years.
Like this is the 30th anniversary. Do something. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. I'm a big Burton. Are you a Tim Burton fan?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily consider myself a big Tim Burton fan, mostly because his recent output has been less than stellar.
Right.
He definitely has some great movies, but yeah, I don't know if he's put out anything I liked in a decade.
Right.
I would like to see him take on Batman again. I
Keep-
don't like the
keep
Batman
dreaming.
film.
Keep
It would be a big reverse turn for that
I
franchise.
kind of like that. I'm
Well,
not a big fan of what they've been doing.
Yes.
Well, we sort of had a taste because they used Danny Elfman's Batman theme in Justice League.
They did.
They hinted at it very briefly, and I'm like, oh
I
my
think
god.
it would be amazing if they just let him do one
Another-
Batman,
oh
see
my
what
God.
happens.
Well, he almost did. He was going to do Batman Forever, but there were some disputes, I think,
And that's
with
why it
Warner
wasn't
Brothers, and then Joel Schumacher had to take the helm.
Wow.
Yep, unfortunately. I think that would have been great. I think it was going to be Marlon Wayans as Robin Williams as the Joker, and I forget who was going to play Two-Face. but
Wow.
It would have been.
Oh, I heard that Robin Williams was supposed to be a joke.
He was rumored. Yeah, something like that.
That's
Was it Tommy Lee
interesting.
Jones?
Tommy Lee Jones was the actual Two-Face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But I'm talking about
Two-Face.
theoretical.
Yeah.
Would have been great. Yeah.
I'd like to see a nice modern twisted Batman because Batman is very, very much of a twisted character.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like the cartoonish type of Batman, like Batman Returns, that had that fun vibe to it.
Yeah.
If Tim Burton were to come back, I think he should just do one.
Yeah.
I
I,
really
just
think.
don't like the way they've been doing Batman. I don't know. I still think the best Batman was the Tim Burton Batman.
I think Batman and Batman
Yeah.
Returns are my
Yeah.
favorite. I mean, arguably,
more than Dark Knight.
I like for sentimental reasons,
Yeah.
and they're just fun movies.
Yeah. The Dark Knight was okay,
Dark Knight was okay.
but I mean Heath Ledger did sort of make the film.
Well, Heath Ledger was amazing.
Yeah, he made the film. Like, his Joker made the film. I don't know if it would have been as epic without that.
Did you like Jared Leto's interpretation?
Ugh, I hate it. I can't stand it. Oh my god, it drives me nuts. I hate that Joker. I don't like
kind
it.
of liked
Is
him.
that the Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't watch it. I didn't like
Not a
that
lot
at
of people
all.
enjoyed that movie.
Jared Leto is like an anomaly of an actor, man. Like he can, like whenever I see him acting, I'm like, that's Jared Leto.
Yeah.
I mean, as an actor, I think he's cool, but I just didn't like the rendition of Harley and Joker. It was just
Now you're a comic book aficionado, right?
I haven't read a lot of comic books,
Yeah.
but I've always been a comic book fan, a superhero fan. Yeah.
Now, is there a DC or Marvel villain or that you'd want to see on film that hasn't been touched on?
You know, honestly, my favorite has been Spider-Man, and
Okay.
they have bought a lot of the great villains, like the Green Goblin thing. Was
Wait,
my thing.
you're saying you weren't impressed with the last Tom Holland?
I
Spider-Man?
did not watch the last Spider-Man because again they did some. I don't know what they've been doing, but they've been just switching it up a little too much.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. I think one of the
Spider-Man
movies. No, the original, the Spider-Man with Tobey and everything, that was beautiful. I mean, it felt like a comic book. It was
just
so
forget
on
about the
point.
third movie.
Yeah, the third wasn't so great, but I still think that could still be better than the ones they've been doing lately.
I like the.
I just don't like how much younger Spider-Man's getting. Now he's in junior
No, you're
high.
right.
I don't know. It's
no,
like
you're-
weird.
because Maguire was like what 27.
Yeah, but he
In the first
felt
one?
like high school. That
I mean,
felt like high school to
they're all
me.
high school.
But he looks like he's in 7th, 8th grade now. You know what I
No,
mean? Now
he
it's
looks like he's in high school.
Now he does.
now maybe currently.
Yeah.
I gotta
And
check the last
people
one.
I've talked to-
before it was too young. And
People
I
I talked to about Andrew Garfield, they said he was too cool to be
really?
Peter Parker. He's like,
It just even now it still doesn't feel like it. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not feeling like I'm not trying to get too stuck on the comic books, but
check out the Spider-Man Homecoming. I think you'll
Yeah.
be pleasantly surprised.
Homecoming was good. I think they nailed Spider-Man as close as you can. A friend
Yeah.
a friend of mine's a diehard Spider-Man
it looks
fan.
like a Deadpool thing too, isn't it? Like the
I mean,
way
they
they
kind
of
advertised
tongue-in-cheek.
it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Spider-Man is also
He's
kind
a-
of known for that, like,
He's supposed to be
High
tongue-in-cheek,
energy
yeah.
barbs
Yeah.
and stuff.
Those quips.
It's definitely like feels a little Deadpool-y in like the pace of it.
The publicity, of course, that's what I kept seeing. I was like, is that Deadpool or Spider-Man? You know?
Well, that's like a joke in the Marvel universe as
Yeah.
well. It's like they do play off each other at one point. Like I'm reading a lot of the comics right now, and even like when the Civil War happens, like Spider-Man's supposed to be like married with kids and all this stuff, and like now because the Spider-Man franchise was owned by Fox, and Marvel was like, we want that back. Marvel Disney was like, we need that back, and they were not budging. They're like, you know what? Fine, make your Spider-Man movie. Let's see if it's that good. And then it was really good, and everyone's like, yeah, so you should give it to them.
Well, there you
100%.
Interesting.
It's awesome. All right, guys.
You're a Spider-Man fan too, aren't you?
You know what? I grew up Batman and a little Superman.
Oh,
I was
yeah?
more of a
Okay.
DC. I'm still a DC guy.
Because we're both from the same
We're-
neighborhood.
I know.
As Spider-Man.
We're both from Forest. We went to high school
Hills.
together. We're from Forest Hills. That's where Peter Parker grew up.
Yeah.
And they actually filmed some scenes from the Tobey Maguire movie
Yeah, right in Austin Street.
on
in our
Austin Street.
neighborhood.
Yeah,
That's
in
where we
Forest
grew
Hills.
up.
It's great.
Yeah.
Good times.
I remember you signed my yearbook. With great power comes great responsibility.
That's not embarrassing.
We were such a Spider-Man thing.
Yeah. Well,
I
that was 2002, 2003.
2003, yeah.
Yeah, it came out.
Wow.
That was awesome.
That's true. It did come out the same year. That's right.
So good.
Wow.
So guys, we just got a few minutes left. We've got the Academy Awards coming up on March 4th. Zach, I'd love to hear what your thoughts. Who do you see winning? Who do you want to win?
I mean, I'm of a couple different opinions because there's so many. What I think is exciting about this year's Academy Awards is there is not a real sense of one movie in particular being the front runner. The way that in years past it kind of felt. I mean, even though there was that, it was La La Land until it wasn't last year.
Yeah.
There was a lot
What
of
a weird
momentum.
moment.
It was all momentum around La La Land and Moonlight. And sometimes you get these years where it's just like, well, it's Spotlight's year, I guess. And the fact that I think it could easily be Three Billboards who wins. I think it could easily be The Shape of Water.
Right.
I think it could even be
Lady
Get
Bird.
Out. Lady Bird, maybe.
Yeah.
I think
They're
there's-
all amazing movies.
yeah, that's the thing. And,
yeah.
and there's a lot of great movies there too.
Right.
So I'm curious to see how it all shakes out. I think recently the Oscars have been doing a lot of dividing awards among different movies. So if you look at the history of the Oscars, Best Picture and Best Director tend to be given out to the same movie most of the time.
Right.
But in the past 5 years, 4 times the Best Director wasn't for the Best Picture winner. So the fact that we're getting more awards to different movies, I think is really cool and interesting. Might be a chance for Christopher Nolan, who
Dunkirk,
is
right?
so beloved, but only got his first nomination here to get a Best Director win.
And that's
Guillermo
not a great
del Toro.
Yeah. I mean, I like Dunkirk. I didn't love it. It was kind of dull for me. I mean, visually it was amazing,
Yeah.
as are all Chris Nolan films. But I don't think it should have been. I mean, I could see the nomination.
I kind of like Dunkirk more than I think most people do.
Yeah.
I think he did some really interesting stuff there. How he played with time was really cool. And there's some stuff about the way he depicted war as sort of more about helping your fellow soldier than killing the enemy that I appreciated.
Okay. Natalie,
I don't do awards shows.
Okay.
I don't know
Well, have
Spider
you seen
versus
any
all.
of the big Best Picture
I don't
nominees?
even know what is nominated.
All right, let me read them off.
Give me some
So it's
nominations.
Three Billboards.
I still have to
We
see
got-
Get
all right.
Out, though. I've
Shape-
been wanting to see that.
Shape of Water, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Phantom Thread, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Get Out,
Oh, it's getting a lot.
The Post, Call Me by Your Name, and Lady Bird. Have you seen?
I haven't seen most of those.
Okay.
films.
Some great ones in here.
That's interesting.
Do you have a favorite among them?
Among these, Three Billboards made my top 10. top 3 actually.
There are multiple nominations, right?
It's a lot
Sam
of people consider Sam Rockwell a front runner for Best Supporting Actor, and
he'll get
most
it.
people think Frances McDormand's a lock for Best Actress.
Yeah, she's won the Golden Globe. I think the Screen Actors Guild.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so she's in the running. You've got Sally Hawkins, Meryl Streep, Frances McDormand, Margot Robbie, and Saoirse. Thank you, Ronan. As for Best Actor, Daniel Day. I love this.
I feel like I'm the only one who doesn't watch the award shows anymore. It's crazy.
Daniel
I
Day-Lewis.
just gave up on it.
Timothy
Chalamet. Yeah.
Daniel
Kaluuya.
Denzel, and Gary Oldman, who won the Golden Globe. So he usually that follows the progression of winning.
There's some momentum around Timothée Chalamet for Call Me by Your Name.
Okay. He's the young boy in that film.
Yes, but Best Actor is also an award that traditionally goes to someone who's been around. Yeah. There's a lot of, this is your year kind of things going on. So I think Gary Oldman, who's an actor a lot of people love, who somehow hasn't won an Oscar despite his career.
I think he's been nominated a bunch of times.
I don't know about a bunch. I think he's been nominated like once or twice. Less than you'd think, given how prolific he is.
He's so amazing.
Yeah. So I think he's probably the front runner for.
He's such a chameleon. I love him in anything he's in. So the Oscars are going to be March 4th, guys. So Natalie, tune in.
I'm not gonna watch it.
Okay, well,
I'm not a fan.
We'll talk about it the following day. Zach, I know you'll be watching, probably live tweeting and
no
Facebook.
judgment
A little bit of
here.
live tweeting.
I think I'm going to do a little live Facebooking.
Cool.
So we'll see what happens with that. So guys, we're going to be leaving right now. Do you have anything you want to promote? Any plugs?
Any plugs?
Websites?
Do you have any plugs?
You can follow me on Twitter at @zshevich, or you can check out my podcast at Intercut Pod. That's on YouTube. It's on SoundCloud. It's at Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher, whatever. Just search up Intercut Pod. We're doing reviews and movie news every week.
Nice.
Cool.
Natalie, anything?
I got one of the documentaries I've been working on is screening in a lot of places in the next couple of weeks. Since we're mostly New York based, the New York Peace Film Festival is next month. We'll go watch Resistance at Tule Lake, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
and so, guys, next weekend, I think Friday through Sunday, we have the Philip K. Dick Film Festival, Science Fiction Film Festival. And I will most likely be going there and hopefully interviewing some talent. And I can just talk about that more 1 week from today. Also, on next week's show, we're going to be interviewing Joel Quinones. And I'm going to have guest film critics John Bartnick and Chris Clementi. We're going to be reviewing Half Magic, No Resolution, and Midnighters. So that'll be 1 week from today, which will be February 25th. So stay tuned for that. And we'll see you guys next week. I'm Randy Unger with Under the Radar. Thanks for watching.